We have covered the work of Victor Rousseau in episode 74. Today we will cover his 1924 novel The Sea Demons, released at first in 3 parts in All Story Weekly in 1916. Taking place during World War I, we see Navy Officer Donald Paget returning to the Admiralty before being assigned to another mission. He meets an old friend, Professor Masterman, who has returned from an expedition to the Shetlands and is totally unaware of there being a war. But he then says the whole thing will simply have to be called off, as a race of amphibious human monsters are coming to devour humanity. The second Sea Lord treats his intelligence as most people would, and Masterman returns to his club, the Inventors Club, a haven for cranks, to dine with Paget. Masterman had been dishonored in the past when he put forth the idea of massive sea serpents existing, an idea which had been torn to shreds by Professor Ida McBeard, his rival. He too, however, is relegated to the Inventors Club due to kleptomania. Masterman goes on about his discovery of a race of humanoid sea beings, who he is insistent nature is trying to turn into men and were going to come from the deep sea due to a change in the environment. During an argument, Masterman has a stroke and dies. Paget then goes to Masterman's house and finds an invisible fishman in a tank, but he is knocked out by McBeard, who steals Masterman's papers and runs off. Leaving in command of the D-55 submarine, Paget finds the passenger cruiser Boeotia in peril, and inside the lone lifeboat is Ida Kennedy, the girl he wants to marry. Going out in a boat, he has to contend with invisible fishmen before the swarm takes the boat and drags it off. Paget and Ida get aboard the submarine, but when he tries to tell the crew about Monster Men, they think he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and lock him in his cabin. But just then the swarm does what is in the name and swarms the sub and kills almost everyone, except for Paget, Ida, Clounce and Davies. Getting out of the damaged sub in diving suits, the crew is chased into a cavern, where McBeard declares his intentions to wipe out humanity for very petty reasons, and nearly has Clounce torn to pieces on a sacrificial altar. But Clounce's mouth organ, aka harmonica, saves the day. The sea demons communicate via sound vibrations, and McBeard controls them using tuning forks, but the organ mixes them right up. Returning to the sub, they are followed by the beautiful humanoid Queen of the Fishmen, who very much wants Paget, who is overwhelmed by her presence whenever she is near. Ida is a bit jealous, but they don't have time for that, as after McBeard tries to parley with them and gets shot at, he kidnaps Ida and rides off in a motorboat. You see, he had fallen in love with Ida but is rather awkward about it. The sub moves off, taking the Queen with, while Paget flies a convenient airplane to London. There he shows up in the second Sea Lord's office in a diving suit rambling about sea demons, and for some reason the man does not believe him. You'd think that seeing Masterman get the same treatment when he came in without any proof, he'd remember to bring some. The next day the sea demons attack all Britain and much of Europe, so now they believe him. But despite coming up with the idea of freezing the swarm before, he doesn't, and his advice to the government doesn't do much, before McBeard shows up and demands Ida be given to him, since she had escaped in the meantime. In return, he will lead the swarm into a cave and entomb them within forever. Ida surrenders herself, but almost at once Paget's crew is trying to figure out how to go back on their word and rescue her. Taking the Queen with, they follow McBeard's motorboat, the swarm, in tow. The Queen soon dies because she only lives for 3 weeks and her time was up, and the swarm descends into anarchy. McBeard then gets himself killed and Ida is rescued again. Then everyone in Britain pretends Paget saved the world. When his suggestions did nothing, he couldn't even kill McBeard, and the Queen died accidentally without him intending her to. That, and the fact Ida had to be rescued 3 times. McBeard lost control of the swarm twice, making him rather ineffective as an antagonist. And the sea demons' attack on Britain only takes a few pages, makes this rather flawed.